Cut-to-length system is a mechanized logging system. This system uses a harvester to cut the trees marked for removal. The harvester cuts, delimbs, and processes the trees into product lengths at the stump in the forest. The processed logs are then picked up by a forwarder, which is the machine in this video. The forwarder uses a boom with a grapple arm to pick up the processed logs. The logs are placed in the log bunk at the back of the forwarder. Once the forwarder is fully loaded, it heads to the landing to unload the logs. This type of logging system uses less equipment to process the logs. This is because the trees are processed in the forest, where the tree is cut. Unused woody material is left in the forest where the tree is cut. Unused woody material sounds like a wasteful term, but actually it is hugely beneficial to the overall health of the forest. The woody material left in the forest will decompose and return to the soil. This increases the productivity of the soil, increases soil moisture retention, and acts as a carbon sink as the carbon in the woody material is allowed to be stored in the soil as it decomposes. Not to mention all the wildlife habitat benefits this woody material is providing. This woody material is very much used and not unused. Because the logs that are brought back to the landing are in the back of the machine, a forwarder lessens the impact of the trail infrastructure over the forest. This is as long as the logging is done during the right time of year given the ground conditions of the forest. A skidder, on the other hand, uses a different method to transport the logs from where they are cut to the landing. A skidder uses cables or grapples to grab the piles of logs or hitches and drags them back to the landing. Dragging the trees on the trails allows for more opportunities for the ground to become disturbed. This is not to say that all logging with a skidder is bad. In some circumstances, soil disturbance may be beneficial, particularly if one of the goals of the timber sale is to regenerate certain types of tree species that do better at getting established in mineral soil. Another goal may be limiting the amount of living debris left behind after a timber sale. For aesthetic reasons, a cut-to-length system would not achieve that objective, but a whole tree logging operation with a skidder would be able to meet those goals. Skidders also have the advantage on steep terrain. Because forwarders are large and heavy, they can have difficulty operating in steep terrain. A skidder can be more suited to the steep terrain that we have throughout Vermont. The Wrights Mountain Devil's Den Town Forest is a well-used town forest, much like the Hartford Town Forest. The main skid trail used during this timber sale is also the main hiking trail. It is used by many people throughout the year. It is used for hiking, biking, snowshoeing, dog walking, and wildlife viewing. This sale took place during frozen conditions and 3 cold weeks in February. This ensured the forwarder, a heavy machine to begin with, but even heavier when loaded with logs, had little impact to the recreational trail system at Wrights. A cut-to-length system will be used during the logging operations planned at the Hartford Town Forest for the winter of 2021-2022. It was chosen to limit the impact of the recreational trails at the Hartford Town Forest. Using a forwarder to haul the wood, along with having the sale done during frozen conditions, will limit the impact to the trail system at the Hartford Town Forest. The system was also chosen because it requires a smaller landing site compared to a whole tree logging operation, which requires more equipment to process the trees at the landing, which means it needs a larger landing site to accommodate all the equipment. To implement a timber sale successfully at the Hartford Town Forest, a landing site will need to be built. Having to locate a smaller landing is to our advantage given the limited options for a landing. An area has been chosen for a landing and is marked on the timber sale map in orange. Once built, it can be used again for future logging operations in the northern part of the Hartford Town Forest. Here at the Wrights Mountain Devil's Den Town Forest, the landing location is in the main parking area. The parking lot is roughly a quarter-acre in size. Once the forwarder returns to the landing and unloads the log bunk, sorting products to be sold at the mill. Here the sorts are hardwood pulp, hardwood saw logs, which is mostly white ash saw logs, hemlock pulp, and hemlock saw logs. At the Hartford Town Forest, the sorts will likely be hardwood pulp or firewood, hardwood saw logs, which will mostly end up being red oak saw logs, white pine pulp, and white pine saw logs. White pine saw logs being the bulk of what is sold during this upcoming sale. Here at Wrights and at the Hartford Town Forest, besides the good work we want to do in the forest, reducing the impact of the recreational trails is a high priority, because using a forwarder decreases the chances of the recreational trails being impacted by the logging. A cut-to-lake system was chosen. Longview Forest Management is one of the many loggers in Vermont using cut-to-lake systems. Given the goals for your property, choosing the right type of equipment to implement the work to be done in your forest is an important step in planning a timber sale. Not all systems will work in every situation.